Hello and welcome to a Peaceful Packs opening. Magic the Gathering is a very exciting hobby that we all share, but sometimes we don't take the time to appreciate the card art fully. Many of us are guilty of having commander decks with cards that, after months of playing with them, we realise, oh, that's not what I thought it was. And a lot of the time just taking a little moment to appreciate the background art can, I think, really enhance our enjoyment of this hobby. We're entering into spooky season, so of course, I've got us a few Duskmourn House of Horror packs. Unlike the previous horror set Innistrad, this brings us to an ever-shifting, endless haunted house full of tropes from campy 80s horror. I got these from a pre-release event in my LGS, which was fantastic. It seems like a really well-balanced format. I was seeing a lot of colour pairs going around, and even when people were winning multiple games, it seemed close, and I think that's usually a good sign of a healthy format. So, let's go and crack open one of these packs and just take some time to appreciate the art and flavour of what's inside here. Oh, looks like we've got an art card, which is always exciting. Our first card, Resurrected Cultist. We have a very sort of classic horror cultist vibe on this one. I do love that, we're seeing more and more. I'm a big horror fan, and we're seeing a lot more light horror. You can actually see what's going on when people are in darkness. So it seems that they're maybe surrounded by little glimmers. Obviously, this fuels a delirium strategy. Delirium. You can pay 2 and 2 black to return it from the graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter. It's a little bit overcosted for, a 4-1, but it's not bad being able to block into this and keep it as a threat in the background to potentially pop back to upset your opponent's attacks. Up next, we have Most Valuable Slayer. One of the survivors, it seems. They seem to have these wonderful laser weapons. It's fighting off some of the gremlins. 4 mana 2/4, human warrior. When you attack, target attacking creature gets +1/0 and first strike till end of turn. And Torian had never lost a match in his life, and he didn't plan to start now. I went against a few of these in the pre-release, and being able to give things first strike, especially with the amount of things with menace or death touch, is really quite powerful for red. It allows a real aggro strategy. I like how you can tell this, they're sort of wearing that repurposed hockey gear. And it looks like they've got a little tiny gremlin that they're about to smack. Monstrous Emergence. Ooh. Sometimes with these horror cards, it's fun just trying to puzzle out what's actually going on. It seems to be maybe a spider made out of human fingers with some tentacles, you can sort of see. And even just, we love the sort of 70s, 80s fashion going on here with the sweaters and the big hair and the hairband and the geometric earrings. As an additional cost to cast the spell, choose a creature you control or reveal a creature card from your hand. Deals damage equal to the power of the creature you chose or the creature revealed to target creature. So this is fun. It's a 2 mana bite spell, but obviously with a lot of the bite spells, if you're about to take out one of my creatures and then I use removal on yours, you've lost your creature, it doesn't go through. This way you can show something from your hand, which is a lot more protection. I wonder if I can discard it to stop it from working. Bedhead Beastie. I love these beasties. The sort of friendly monsters in this set. They're serving a little bit of where the wild things are. Look at just how fuzzy this thing is. Little glowing lights, and of course Bedhead quite literally here, as it seems to be wearing a king-sized bed as a hat. Or maybe it's just part of its head. Menace and Mountain Cycling 2, 5/6. It had heard monsters were supposed to hide under beds, and it did its best. That's just, I like that there's adorable smattered in with the scary. It is doing its best. We love you, Bedhead Beastie. Anthropede. So there's some very cool bugs in this set. So we have a centipede, some sort of humanoid hands, a very frightening face with the mandibles and the skeletons crawling in this sort of ruined, one of the forests that's made out of doors. The touch of its many hands is almost gentle at first, but then the grip tightens and the mandibles dig in. If you've spent the last 20 years wandering around this haunted house, at least you're getting a little hug before you go out. It's 4 mana 3/4. It is reach, which is relevant. There is some flying in this set. And when Anthropede enters, you can discard a card or pay 2 to destroy target room. Love when you can... Obviously, running enchantment removal is... sometimes feels like a bad slot, because if it's not coming up, you've kind of wasted it. But being able to pack it on a creature that stays relevant, this is kind of just fixes a few things. It's nice. Bear Trap. Not the most exciting art here. We just see, you know, a rusty bear trap. It's got quite an elaborate metalwork on it, which is cool. Every time its teeth tasted blood, its hunger grew, until one day it was no longer a trap, but a hunter. Flavor text here implies something quite cool. This has gone from just a simple trap, and then this plane really deals with sort of manifestations, belief. So this has basically been used as a trap so long, it's bitten so much blood, whether that's survivor or monster, that it's become something a little bit more, and now it maybe looks for blood on its own. Unfortunately, not a very good card. 1 mana flash artifact. And then you have to pay 3 and tap it to deal 3 damage to target creature. So it's a 4 mana remove spell if something has 3 or less toughness. There's better cards that do what this needs to do. Beelmerk Leech. So I had a little bit of fun with this in mind. So we do have a very gorgeous sort of leech here. Just the details on the underbelly, the green glow, the tombstone in the back. It's a very classic sort of Halloween-y scene. It's a 2-drop 2/2, so we have a bear. Adapted to feed on dead flesh, it's not averse to making its own when no corpses are available, so it's largely a scavenger. But, you know, it's prepared to hunt if it's getting hungry. Can't fault it for that. It has the area ability whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you unlock a room, each opponent loses a life. So as well as just being a little 2/2 bear that you can have to block or attack with, or even reanimate, even if you pop down a couple of rooms, this is getting a little bit of extra damage out, which is always nice. We love direct damage in Limited. Emerge from the Cocoon. I wound up using this in my Reanimator deck. It's got some gorgeous art. You can see this person's gone through some sort of apotheosis. It might have been a survivor once, but having spent some time in this silken cocoon, it's emerged more than what went in. Within the silken shroud, all doubts are cleansed and all desires are united with Valgavoth. That's right, the scary demon at the heart of this plane, the demon that has become this house that stretches off in all directions. You may have been a survivor, you may have been a cultist, but after going through your apotheosis, you become a sort of moth priestess of Valgavoth. At 5 mana, you return a creature to the battlefield and gain 3 life. A reanimator effect that gets you a little bit of health. There's not a ton of life gain in this set, so even the cards that have a little bit of life gain on them can be surprisingly good. Moving to uncommons. Get Out. Well, I think this is just referring to the trope. Fantastic film. Watch it if you haven't. So, there's a lot of heavy colour themes in this set, so this is clearly from one of the more island-related areas of the house. You see that sort of gorgeous blue contrasted against the black, and there's actually 2 of the shurikens, so we know that this is Kaido, who was who's the planeswalker who's in this plane. Has those origami shurikens. Kaido's blade brought the light of another plane into Duskmourn, and with it, a brief chance to escape. We have a planeswalker entering this place, and there's a chance that maybe you might get out. With the Duskmourn plane, obviously, unlike other planes where we're now getting access either through being a planeswalker and being able to travel, or through going through these Oathgates, this plane snatches people out of other planes. That's one of Valgavoth's powers, a sort of reverse planeswalking, a plane snatching, and traps them in here. So 2 mana, counter target creature enchantment spell, or return 1 or 2 creatures and or enchantments you own to your hand, is relevant. A lot of enter effects. And of course, 2 blue for countering a creature can certainly be relevant. Oh, we have a gorgeous, gorgeous creature here. So this is Vile Mutilator. 7-drop means it'll be hard to get out in limited, but the Reanimator decks can make it viable. Look at this thing coming through the door. Goat skull, 3 eyes aside, big curly horns, wings, and it's snatched one of the glimmers. Glimmers are little bits of hope, often manifested as animals. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sack a creature or enchantment. It is a 6/5 with flying and trample, and when it enters, each opponent sacrifices a non-token enchantment and then sacrifices a non-token creature. So if you're able to get this out, 7 mana and sacking a creature or enchantment is a big cost, but then the opponents have to sack both. It's a flying trampler, but it's simply, if you can discard this and use a Reanimator card, you know, if we discard this off of anything, hand size, a discard effect, and then use Emerge from the Cocoon, we're paying 5 mana to get this in, the opponent's losing their pieces, getting a bit of life. It's the Reanimator in this felt really good. I was lucky to run a Reanimator deck. I love the glimmers. Look at just look at the color there. It's so cool that we get like full paintings in these cards. It's stunning. Glimmer Seeker. This is a Survivor card. Now, I wasn't running a Survivor deck, but I actually did put one of these in my Reanimator because it's just such a good card. Look at this art. You see the tendrils creeping in, but this Survivor is a Glimmer Seeker. They look for hope. So while they're usually animals, she's found like a glowing key as part of her hope. I wonder what this unlocks, but just even if you look at the sword, the tendrils, like there's such a story implied by this picture, and the art style is truly gorgeous. Well, hello there. Want to come exploring? Don't know if she's saying that to us or if she's saying it to this key that she's found. Oh, and of course, just that 70s fashion, that iconic coat. Oh, what a look. 3 mana, 3/3, human survivor, and survival, which means if it gets an ability if it is tapped during your main phase 2. You create a glimmer creature, a 1/1 enchantment, if you don't have one, and if you do have one, you draw a card. So getting an extra body on the field just for getting a safe swing with this is already nice, but being able to draw cards, people really spent a lot of removal trying to get these off my field. Oh, moving to rares. Victor Valgavoth's Sentinel. I love this art. Jeremy Wilson's work. Look at that cartoon style. Seems to be a bunch of teeth or cocoons. I think those are cocoons hanging from above them. Got that Moth Priest hat. The whole sort of Moth Priest look, which we saw in that card earlier, Emerge from the Cocoon. So there's a very little transcendence feel in this set. So it's obviously a worshipper of Valgavoth, one of the cultists. 3 mana, 1 white and black, so for Orzhov decks. 3/3. Eerie. Whenever an enchantment you control enters and whenever you fully unlock a room, surveil 2 if it's the first time it's resolved this turn. If it's the second, each opponent discards a card. And if it's the third, put a creature from the graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. I would have loved to open this for my Reanimator deck. It just does so much. I mean, with a set with so many rooms, you pop one room down, you unlock a cheap room, you get to surveil 2. That's always nice. You're filling your graveyard, you're smoothing out your draws. If you manage to pop it off twice, that happened quite a lot for me. You're making opponents discard cards, and in this format where draws are so limited, getting a card out of an opponent's hand, especially when they're saving cards, is so phenomenal. I mean, they're getting rid of a good creature, they're getting rid of a kill spell. And finally, you can reanimate if you hit 3. That's much harder. I'm not sure you're going to see it very often, but you never hit a free reanimate. Oh, lovely. Oh, so these lands, I think people were fairly excited about to have 2-color lands at a common slot. And the 13 or less life ability is actually quite relevant. Like, you know, it's a nice little way to balance out coming in tapped or untapped. But the art on them is so beautiful. Bleeding Woods, so this is the Gruul land, red and green. Look at that background, the green and the red, just the colour in this set. You know, you see a horror set, you expect everything to be so dark, but they really use a lot of colour. They say if someone lies down to sleep beneath the trees in the morning, nothing will remain but a few scattered bones and a bed of blood-red lilies. There's something quite peaceful about that, you know? Survival's tough, and some of these people spend a lot of time doing everything they can just to keep alive. But, you know, when at the end of the day, you can go lie down in these woods and you won't wake up, but there'll be a bunch of flowers left behind. There's something, sometimes even horror worlds can be quite caring. And then in our shiny slot, we have another most valuable slayer. Honestly, this would have been a lovely pack to open. With there's a lot of red going on here, and having 2 most valuable slayers coming out. I mean, 4 is a bit of a cost, but it's quite a survivable card, and being able to give things first strike and bonuses, really nice. Not much to say about the foil that we haven't already said before. I do like, if you notice the way the doorway really has a lot more glint to it, which does almost give a 3D pop effect, which I quite like. And our art card, let's see what we have. Oh, wow. Oh, look at this. Just the drama and the movement captured here, all the bodies flying out of the back, the way the limbs, those ersatz angles, oh. I love the interplay of the white and the red here. Oh, that's so gorgeous. Which card is this? Overlord of the Bielmark. It's Japanese art. It's by Mikio Masuda. The Overlords have such phenomenal art, and they're really interesting cards. Wow. I do love the art cards. I know some people use them as dividers. I've used them as bookmarks in the past. I mean, it's just... It truly, I think, something that's so wonderful about this game is just the art. If we take a moment before this next pack and just look at this mat. This is... the Halloween Dragon Shield mat. I actually picked this up by winning a Halloween draft event last year. So it felt fun to take it out for this. It's just a lot going on in this. I have the card sleeves for this as well for one of my decks. So we have obviously dragons, but they're such fuzzy werewolf dragons, which is so exciting to see, especially just this adorable little cub one, like the horror, the cuteness, and I just love this little bluff with all the little jack-o'-lanterns, little pumpkins on it. There's a lot going on here, and it's a really rich visual tapestry. So let's see what's in our second pack. Make sure I get that pack opening noise into the mic. Love that sound. Love that new card smell. Oh, we've got another art card. Love to see those. I mean, the tokens are wonderful, but... Okay. Manifest Dread. I love that this has become a little bit of a Magic meme where you have a card, and it does what it says in the tin. The card is called Manifest Dread. The entire text of the card, Manifest Dread. You're not going to forget what that card does in a hurry. So if we look here, we have... Ooh... I was noticing the cocoon, but I'm only just noticing like the skeleton in it. So it's like a really membranous cocoon. It's almost like amber, but it's got those sort of bloody webs running through it. Obviously something's being completely dissolved in here. This isn't part of the forest, as we can tell from it being green and all the sort of rich plant life in there. Rip Spawn Hunter, one of the famous survivors, says, "That's why I never travel without a flamethrower." Yeah, that's fair. With the amount of plants who want to eat you in this place, kill it with fire is a pretty good strategy. And yeah, Manifest Dread's a very cool mechanic. Obviously, we've seen Manifest before. Top card of your deck becomes a 2/2 face-down creature. You can turn it up. But with Manifest Dread, not only does something wind up in your grave, which is lovely for Delirium, Reanimator, but you get to choose between 2, which just means you're more likely to hit something worthwhile. So it's not exactly a new ability, it's just an improvement on an old one. Oh, here we go. One of the fear cards. All of the fears in this set are beautiful to look at. Fear of Surveillance. I went against this a few times and it was quite strong, as you'd expect in limited. 2/2 for 2, so it's at rate. Vigilance, already so good. If you can have a 2/2, then with Vigilance, you're able to attack and keep them back as a blocker. And whenever it attacks, surveil 1. Would have loved this for my Reanimator deck. I can pitch things into the grave, I can smooth out my draws, but honestly, that art is what it's all about. Eyes, floating eyes, surrounding this eye with legs and teeth. There's a sort of whimsical feel almost to it. And the sort of soft, cottony, like there's a fabric-y feel to this, even though you can, if you pay attention, like at the bottom, those are tiles. And behind it, this is a detail people might notice, a bunch of human heads, like glowing white, almost like marble sculpture. Let's see if we can focus in on, if the camera will let us. Look at those. There's so many details in the back of each of these. Like, I just want to go to a gallery that's all full art magic cards just so I can really soak these in. Its unblinking gaze sees every flaw, every shame, every humiliating moment you wish you could forget. Just that panic, that idea of, you know, the things we do when people aren't watching, you know, having a wee scratch or letting the barbecue sauce fall down onto your titties, but just, what if something was watching, you know? Just, what's anthnophobia or something? The fear that somewhere a duck is watching you? Ooh, Daggermaw Megalodon. So we've got a wee Jaws reference here, or maybe a The Meg reference. So there was a bunch of big creatures that cycle. 6-drop, Island Cycling 2, Vigilance 5/7. None of them were that impressive, even for the Reanimator deck. Like, being able to pitch them and find a land, and then bring them back, not bad, but a lot of them were just big. They didn't really have a lot to do on the field. Valgavoth's evil aura turned the shark from an apex predator into an inescapable terror of the deeps. This seems to imply this shark is not from this plane. It could have been in this plane before it was taken over, but this may have been brought in as a regular shark and then corrupted slowly. Now, if we pay attention here, trypophobia warning, look at those eyes. They've got a wetness to them. The sort of crackeny barbels. Look at the details on those teeth. It's really... I love sharks. I think sharks have a bad rep, but like, they've really gone from us. And just this poor person who's just like, yeah. There's almost like, there's a stillness in that person who's just like, there's nothing I can do. I have gone from being a survivor to being dinner. And this is in one of the wet rooms, obviously. You can see there's actually like furniture floating around, a table, an armoire, in that very sort of green water. Beautiful card. A lot of drama there. I think you see it a lot with the monster cards in this set. There'll just be a person just kind of staring at them. Really, that sort of helpless feeling. Winter's Intervention. So there's a few things going on here. So obviously we have one of the killers from the set, one of the creepy clowns who's trapped in a bear trap. We saw a bear trap earlier. If you pay attention to the back, you can see the survivor Winter helping. That appears to be Kaido and the Wandering Rescuer. So those are all characters on this plane. This may be a moment from the story. I actually haven't read the story. I was saving it up for October. This set came out a lot earlier than I thought it would. I was expecting Bloomberg to have a little bit more time to breathe. Can we trust him? Nico whispered as they eyed the stranger. I don't know, the Wanderer replied, but he's a lot friendlier than the creature that was chasing us. Yeah, in a horror movie, someone comes out to help you. There's still that fear. You're still in flight mode. You're like, can I trust this person? Well, they're not actively harming me in this moment, so that's the best I can get. 2 mana instant. It deals 2 damage to a creature and you gain 2 life. Quite a simple little kill spell. You're not too unhappy to see these. There's a few things with 2 toughness. This would really shut down a Boros red-white doll deck. Ooh. Cackling Slasher. A classic beastie. Some sort of a ghoul. A lot of these are just called human assassins, which is interesting because it doesn't look very human, but you see the staircase going up, the chains. We know we're in a darker part here. It's got that sort of Hellraiser Cenobite flair that I do love. Every death was funnier than the last, until his howling laughter drowned out his victim's screams. We've got a kind of a real clown feel here, kind of killer clown. 4 mana, 3/3, Death Touch. It enters with a +1/+1 counter if a creature died this turn. We've seen that in things before. If you manage to kill something post-combat, bring this in. It's a 4/4. 4/4 with Death Touch is a little bit silly, but there are 5 toughness creatures in here. Yeah, it's not a bad little creature. It's just not exactly what you're looking. I'm not sure. You kind of want this more in Rakdos. It pairs well with sacrifice themes. Trapped in the Scream. Now, this is a fantastic card for so many reasons. First of all, look at this art. Look at the details on this TV. It's got such a retro feel to it. The greeny blue, the haziness, just the implied movement of this person. Oh, terrifying. And of course, we've got a silly little flavor text here. Maggie had always wanted to be on television. It's that ironic fate. This is a Banishing Light. 3 mana, when it enters, exile an artifact, creature, or enchantment till it leaves, but just as an upside, because Banishing Light's not good enough, this has Ward 2. Getting a bunch of these is a clear sign you're in white and limited. I mean, it's just such good removal. Plus, it's an enchantment, and so many things care about enchantments in this set. Oh, really like this one. Enter the Enigma. So the Wandering Rescuer has a hand through a portal door here. Though she was used to stepping into the unknown, something about the strange doorway made the Wanderer shiver as she crossed the threshold. Target creature can't be blocked, draw a card. Simple cantrip, sneaks you through some damage. It's a story spotlight, so clearly referencing something that happens in the Duskmourn story, which I'm going to have to read. Irreverent Gremlin. Oh, this is a clear reference to gremlins. Now, this one is all full of candle. It's been munching on these candles. They seem to have a key, quite useful. It is 2 mana, 2/2. It has menace, so evasion, always nice. Whenever another creature you control with power 2 or less enters, so this is for the red-white weak creatures matter decks, you can discard a card, and if you do, draw a card. So you get to do a little bit of looting on a 2/2 menace gremlin, and it triggers all those important 2-power matters. No flavour here, but hopefully there's plenty of flavour in these candles. These gremlins are cute. I know they're monsters. You see them attacking people. In red, white, they've got some really nasty aggro, but they're just adorable. They're having a good time. You know, one person's horror story is another person's banquet. Gremlin Tamer. So another gremlin card. I love this card. Obviously, this is the white-blue. This is the Azorius Signpost for Eerie. So if you see this, you might be looking at an enchantment or room deck. You have one of the gremlins. This one's looking fuzzier than usual. And that classic 70s fashion. It almost looks like Princess Diana. Maybe a weird thing to say. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe she's there. Do they cause trouble? Sure. But if you're nice to them, the trouble happens to other folks. I love that. You know, she's just like, oh, well, you're taming these things, these monsters? How do you do it? And it's like, oh, I'm just kind to them. Turns out if they're intelligent and if you're kind to them, then they're not going to hurt you. They'll hurt other things. 2/2 for 2, so it's a bear. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, and when you unlock a room, make a 1/1 gremlin. That's fantastic. Getting a 1/1 on the field and limited is always lovely. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I love their face. Look at the reflection in those eyes. They've got... Sorry if I'm blinding everyone with the light on this card, but oof. It's adorable. A lot of tension in that scene. Insidious Fungus. One of the things I love about the horror landscape in 2024, mycology horror. We're all scared of mushrooms. We all love mushrooms. We're seeing just these beautiful fungal displays. Look at that classic 70s wallpaper. There's hands in that lichen. There's hands in the mushrooms. It's a creature. It's a fungus creature. It's a 1 mana 1/2. You can pay 2 to sacrifice it, destroy an artifact, destroy an enchantment, or draw a card and put a land out. This does a lot of fun things. Great for a Golgari sacrifice or delirium deck. Whenever it grows, wherever it grows, wood rots, walls turn grey, and flesh becomes fertilizer. I think there's something so peaceful about this, you know. There's the scariness that sometimes comes from being devoured is definitely set aside when it's like being taken back by a fungus. There's a peace in that. becoming fuel for something else. After so many things have fueled us, it feels cyclical. I like that. Could do with maybe a little bit more colour pop on the mushrooms, but I know these mushrooms. I see them in the park. I see them on trees. Keys to the house. Love to see it in a room deck. It's a 1 mana artifact. Very easy to get out on your first turn. You can pay 1 and tap it, sacrifice it, search for land, and put it in your hand. We've been seeing this a few times. It's a nice land smoothing. You pay 1 to put it out, you pay 1 to sacrifice it, you get a land. Quite like the Bell in Bloomburrow, which puts land on top for 1, draws a card for 1. It's an easy little way to get the land you need in hand. Really important if you're splashing a third colour or you're really stuck behind on your colours. But its exciting part, you can pay 3 and sacrifice it to lock or unlock a door of a room you control at sorcery speed. So if you have a big scary room or a room you don't have colour access to, this can unlock it for you, which is nice. But it can also, if you have a room that has a trigger ability on unlock, or you have things that trigger when you unlock rooms, you can relock and unlock a room. Go back in because you've forgotten something and get its ability again, which is very lovely. If you find them, they wanted to be found. I think there's a lot of emphasis on keys in this set because of the rooms, and I just like, yeah, this is a slightly sentient key ring. If you've got it, it's because it's chosen you. Don't know if that's a good or bad thing. If we look at the floorboard here, look at the lichen details, you know, the leaves. This is in one of the forested areas, and the key has that sort of glowing face almost. It's a really nice set of keys, those big tangible, you can almost imagine the weight of those in your hand. Very good. Oh, gorgeous. I love these glimmers. I love the vitality cards. I was actually lucky enough to open an Enduring Vitality in my draft. Even though I was playing Orzhov, I managed to get it in and reanimate it out. I splashed a little bit of green. Look at that. If you've seen the Japanese alt arts for these as well, they're stunning. They've just, you know, they're capturing the hope in the darkness. There's no flavor text on this, which is a shame. I'd love to know more about this, but like, if you look at the tree, it's got these hands, it's grasping, it's like a sentient tree that's trying to capture it, but it's a fawn, it's a deer, it's prancing away. Brilliant card. 3 mana, double green, hard to splash, but Reanimator helps. 3/3, Vigilance, which really matters in this set. There's so much times you need to block, there's so many times you need to be able to have them up. I was able to pair this with something, they give it +1/+1 counters, every time it attacked, it got stronger and stronger. Creatures tap from any mana. Now there's a lot of creature token creation in this. You make gremlins, you make insects, you make glimmers. All of a sudden, all of those now give you mana of any colour. That's your mana fixing. You can play a big spell when you're tapped out. Love to see it. And most importantly, when it dies, it comes back as an enchantment. Take that airy trigger, you still can tap things for mana, and then you can always blink it back to a creature. I love this enduring cycle. It's truly gorgeous. I need to pick up some of the other ones as well. Oh, a full art forest. I love the full arts in this set. I haven't got any plains. I mostly play white. I play a lot of Orzhov, so I need to get some of the swamps as well. But look at this. I'm so tempted to make a green deck just to put this in. Valgavoth in the background, the survivors in the bottom, all the plants. If you look, the eyes coming out of these, there's so many details here. It's in a big broken greenhouse. Oh, it's just truly, there's so much going on here, and the cartoon style really helps capture it. Oh, I love this. It's really beautiful. Oh, and Norn! People were so excited to see Norn come back. This is it's based on an old card. Anytime you play a card, it would be exiled, it'd come back, it couldn't block. It was a really weak little creature, but this one's a little bit better. So 1 mana, 2/1. It cannot block. Whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you can exile it and then play it from exile this turn. So like, you can swing with everything. If it's blocked, you can choose to bounce them out and then bring them back. Get your enters triggers. It's actually quite, if you have enters triggers on things, that's really nice, because then your opponent blocks it and you get to play it again. Obviously you have to pay the mana, but you can, if an opponent plays a combat trick, you can dodge it. Yeah, you can imagine Norn being a survivor just because he's so scared, he runs so fast. Look at this. Oh, Norn's Norrin's beautiful, always has a terrified expression. The foil's quite nice on this. Especially the background rooms in foil are nice because it does add to that 3D effect. You've got the teeth around the door. I don't know what it was. Why would I stick around to find out? Norrin is just right. Like, obviously you can be a survivor by being strong, being fighty, being clever. But if you're fast enough, you know, a creature's doing it, a creature leaps out, it does its reveal, the camera pans on it, and you're halfway gone. Creatures move slow a lot of the time because they're drama queens. But if you're just like, nope, you might get out of there. If you notice the creature type coward, Norrin is a human coward. We love to see that. And our art card, let's see. Oh my goodness. Look at that. A moth, 6 arms, the eyes and the wings. People might not know this. Many moths will either emulate snakes or emulate owls by having eyes or sort of snake heads on their wings so that things are scared and don't eat them. But these aren't these eyes are probably just to scare you off. You can see moths have those really delicate little antennae, but they've got glowing parts of the eyes. This is beautiful. I'm obsessed with this art. What card is this? Bab's Web. Amazing work. Demonic Council. Oh, I'm so happy to have this art card. Look at that. Next horror book I read, this is my bookmark. Oh, that's such a good note to end on. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you got to enjoy just taking some time out and appreciating the art. What's your favourite art card in Duskmourn so far? I'd be really interested to know. There's some really... I think with horror, so many people just think, big bloody monsters, werewolves and teeth. But there's a chance to have so much beauty in the horror and... wow. Thanks for watching.